Over the last 30 days, we've seen more than $130 billion committed to three of the largest infrastructure projects in modern history. First, NextEra and Dominion Energy proposed a $67 billion merger to manage a 53-gigawatt data center queue in Virginia. Simultaneously, OpenAI and NVIDIA announced a 10-gigawatt megaproject in Ohio. Then, Canada announced a $70 billion expansion of Churchill Falls, unlocking 14 gigawatts of power and critical minerals from the Labrador Trough. Market analysts typically view these as three separate regional wins for the tech and energy sectors. But this perspective creates a one-dimensional illusion. Treating these projects as isolated islands ignores the physical reality of the North American grid. These projects draw from the exact same physical and thermodynamic equation across the shared North American grid. When the instantaneous power demands of an AI queue meet physical grid limits, this digital ambition violently collides with the 10-dimensional reality of the Earth. This collision involves the Labrador watershed's ecological limits and the Innu Nation's sovereign rights, realities operating far slower than computer chips. When we try to manage these massive overlaps using static paper treaties and fragmented corporate ledgers, the entire system seizes up. Relying on these 20th-century tools caps our potential. Timelines stretch into decades, capital becomes stranded, and projects jam in endless queues. Executing at this scale while maintaining indigenous equity and ecological standards requires a mechanism that treats these constraints as primary inputs rather than secondary obstacles. This requires a neutral maturation environment, a space where overlapping projects can be synchronized before a single shovel hits the ground. The foundation is the 15-layer OSI stack, integrating cyber, physical, social, and sovereign layers. As a universal translator, it maps incompatible corporate and sovereign languages into a unified protocol. Complex legacy contracts map safely behind sovereign firewalls for secure verification. This protocol provides the common mathematical language needed for these entities to verify and execute their shared agreements without the usual friction. Because these projects are volatile, they enter a T+15 synchronous state. This acts as a temporal buffer, a biological airlock. This 15-day window provides the necessary time for human collaborators, Innu leaders, regulators, and grid engineers, to audit the physical capacity and ensure the project aligns with their requirements. During this window, ecological and sovereign protections are locked into automated policy as code, ensuring they are mathematically guaranteed before any action is taken. Once that trust is grounded, the buffer collapses into T+0 execution, instantly releasing capital, megawatts, and minerals across borders. This digital speed entirely bypasses the standard 5-year regulatory delays. The Churchill Falls expansion operates as a portal for global capability, streaming 14 gigawatts of clean power and high-purity iron ore into the international market. This architecture enables trustless symbiosis, where agnostic routing replaces the subjective friction of geopolitics. The system uses cryptographic proofs to guarantee that environmental and security standards are met before a single resource crosses a border. This allows Canada to simultaneously export minerals to European battery supply chains and feed clean power into the U.S. grid with total verification. This portal mechanism transforms isolated regional assets into verified engines for global supply chain decarbonization. Advanced technology is not exclusively a matter of software, and the private sector is more than just a handful of tech companies. These massive infrastructure agreements are 21st-century seeds. They contain the capital, natural resources, and compute that the future requires. To prevent these seeds from becoming stranded liabilities, we must proactively architect the interstitial space between our sovereign states. This is about augmenting our shared human intelligence with the full spectrum of advanced technology to build a multi-dimensional system. Every substation and transmission line is now a component in the co-creation of a coherent, synchronized North American continent.